The morning after James's funeral, I found his son waiting in my office. Michael had his father's jawline, but none of his warmth. He was sitting in my chair, behind my desk, going through papers that weren't his to touch. I stood in the doorway of Hayes and Morrison Construction, the company James and I had built from nothing over 32 years. The morning sun cut through the Denver smog, casting long shadows across the warehouse floor below. I could hear the crew starting up the equipment, the familiar rumble of diesel engines that had been the soundtrack to my adult life. Michael looked up, and for a moment, I saw James in his eyes. But only for a moment. "We need to talk," he said. No greeting, no acknowledgement that we'd just buried his father 20 hours ago. I walked to the small coffee maker in the corner, the one James and I had bought at a garage sale in 1993. My hands shook slightly as I poured. I was 64 years old, and I'd slept maybe 2 hours. The funeral had been beautiful. James would have hated it. He always said he wanted to be cremated and scattered at Red Rocks, not laid out in a suit he'd never worn while people he barely knew said things they didn't mean. "What can I do for you, Michael?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. He slid a folder across the desk. "I've been going through Dad's files, the business files. I didn't reach for it. Those are private documents. I'm his son. I have every right." He leaned back in my chair, his chair now, apparently. "Do you know what I found? This company is worth $4.2 million. $4.2 million, Robert. And you've been taking 50% of the profits all these years." I took a sip of coffee. It was bitter. We'd bought cheap beans again. James always insisted on the expensive stuff, said life was too short for bad coffee. I should have listened. "Your father and I were equal partners," I said. "Were." Michael stood up, came around the desk. He was tall, like James, but lankier. He'd never done a day of physical labor in his life. Past tense. He's gone now, and I've been thinking about the future of this company. I waited. I'd learned patience from 3 decades in construction. You don't rush concrete, you don't rush timber, you don't rush men like Michael. "I think it's time for you to retire," he said. The words hung in the air between us. Outside, I heard Tommy shouting something about a delivery. The familiar chaos of a workday starting. "I'm 64, I said. "Not quite retirement age." "You're 64 and you're tired, Robert. I can see it. Dad carried this company the last few years. Let's be honest." He pulled out another paper. "I had our accountant draw up a buyout offer. It's generous. $750,000 for your half of the business." I looked at the number. $750,000. For half of a company worth $4.2 million, he was offering me less than 20% of the actual value. "That's quite a discount," I said quietly. "That's the market rate for a struggling construction business with an aging workforce and outdated equipment." Michael's voice had an edge now. "You know as well as I do, this company has been coasting. Dad was too loyal to say it, but half our crew should have been replaced years ago. The equipment is ancient. Our bids aren't competitive anymore." He wasn't entirely wrong. We had kept some guys on longer than we should have. Tommy was 67 and his knees were shot. Rodriguez had diabetes and missed work regularly. But they were family. James and I had always believed in taking care of our people. "I need time to think," I said. "Think fast. I'm meeting with a business consultant on Monday. We're going to restructure, modernize. This company could be worth 8, maybe 10 million in 5 years with the right management." He paused. "Your management style, Robert, it's old-fashioned. Dad's too. It was cute when you guys were young. But this is business. Real business." Michael left the folder on my desk and walked out. I heard his Mercedes start up in the parking lot. A Mercedes. James had driven a Ford F-150 until the day he died. Said if it was good enough for our workers, it was good enough for him. I sat down in my chair, the one I'd sat in for 3 decades, and opened the folder. Inside was the buyout offer, along with a detailed analysis of the company's deficiencies: outdated equipment, aging workforce, lack of digital presence, high labor costs due to unnecessary benefits and retirement contributions. There was also a letter. I recognized James's handwriting immediately. "Robert," it said, "if you're reading this, I'm gone, and Michael has probably already started. He's been asking about the business for months. wants to modernize, wants to cut benefits, wants to fire Tommy and Rodriguez and half the crew. Says they're dead weight. I told him no. Told him this business is about people, not just profit. He called me soft. Maybe I am, but I know what we built, you and me. I know what it means. Don't let him destroy it. Everything you need is in the safe. The combination is Emma's birthday. I trust you to do what's right. Always have. Your friend, James. Emma was James's late wife, Michael's mother. She died 6 years ago, breast cancer. James had never been quite the same after. The combination would be the 17th of April, 1958. I walked to the back office, to the old safe we'd installed in 1995 after a break-in. My fingers trembled as I turned the dial. 4, 17, 58. The lock clicked. Inside were the usual things: property deeds, insurance papers, our original partnership agreement from 1993, and underneath, a newer folder marked with last year's date. I opened it and started reading. By the time I finished, the sun had moved across the sky. I could hear the crew coming back from the morning job site. Tommy's voice, arguing with someone about the proper way to mix concrete. It was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. Michael came back on Friday. He brought a lawyer this time. A young woman in an expensive suit who set up a laptop on my desk without asking. "Robert, this is Jennifer Chen, our attorney," Michael said. "She's going to walk you through the paperwork." "Paperwork," I repeated. "The buyout agreement. The sooner we finalize this, the sooner you can start enjoying your retirement." Michael smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. $750 is a lot of money, Robert. You could buy a nice place, travel. Isn't that what guys your age want? "Guys my age?" I said. Jennifer opened her laptop. "Mr. Hayes, I've prepared the transfer documents. This will sign over your shares in Hayes and Morrison Construction to Michael Morrison in exchange for the agreed-upon sum of $750,000 paid out over 5 years. 5 years? I said. The offer said lump sum. We've revised the terms, Michael said quickly. Cash flow considerations. You understand. So now it wasn't even $750 all at once. It was $150,000 a year for 5 years, for a company worth over $4 million. And if the company went under in year 2 or 3, I'd get nothing. I see, I said. Dad would want this, Michael said, and his voice softened just slightly. He'd want you taken care of. He'd want the business to thrive. You know that. I thought about James, about the letter in the safe, about Emma's birthday and what lay inside that folder. Where do I sign? I asked. Michael's face lit up. Really? Just like that? I'm tired, Michael. You were right. I'm 64 and I'm tired. Your father's gone. My best friend is gone. What's the point in fighting? Jennifer slid papers across the desk. I read through them slowly. Transfer of shares. Non-compete clause. Confidentiality agreement. Everything designed to push me out and keep me out. I signed my name on every line she indicated. Robert Hayes, in the same handwriting I'd used on our original partnership agreement 32 years ago. Thank you, Robert, Michael said, and he actually sounded genuine. You won't regret this. I'm going to take this company places Dad never dreamed of. I'm sure you will, I said. They left together, Jennifer and Michael, talking animatedly about their plans. New equipment, new contracts, a digital marketing campaign. I heard the word restructuring at least 3 times before they made it to the parking lot. I sat alone in my office, looking at the photos on the wall. James and me at the groundbreaking of our first big commercial project. James and me at Tommy's daughter's wedding. James and me accepting a safety award from the city. 32 years of memories. I pulled out my phone and made a call. Rodriguez? Yeah, it's Robert. Listen, I need you to do me a favor. Call everyone. Tell them we're having a company meeting Monday morning. 7 a.m. Everyone needs to be there. Yeah, everyone. Tell them it's important. Thanks. The weekend passed slowly. I spent Saturday cleaning out my desk, boxing up personal items. On Sunday, I drove up to Morrison, the little mountain town we'd named the company after. James and I had gotten our start there, building a community center that still stood today. I visited James's grave. The earth was still fresh, the headstone not yet placed. I stood there for a long time, hands in my pockets, watching the clouds move over the peaks. I hope I'm doing this right, I said to the empty air. I hope you knew what you were doing. The wind picked up, rustling through the pine trees. For a moment, I could almost hear James laughing. Monday morning, the warehouse was packed. Every member of our crew was there. Tommy with his bad knees, Rodriguez with his insulin pump, Jenny from accounting, Marcus from the office. All 43 people who made Hayes and Morrison Construction what it was. Michael arrived at 7:15, surprised to see everyone gathered. "What's this?" he asked me. "Company meeting," I said. "Thought everyone should hear about the changes." His eyes narrowed, but he nodded. "Fine. Good. They should hear it from both of us." I walked to the front of the group, to the little raised platform we used for safety briefings. "Thanks for coming, everyone," I said. "I know it's early. I know some of you have job sites to get to. This won't take long." I paused, looking at faces I'd known for decades. As you all know, we lost James last week. He was my partner, my friend, and the heart of this company. There were nods, murmurs of agreement. Tommy wiped his eyes. James's son Michael is here today. He's going to be taking a more active role in the company going forward. "Michael, you want to say something?" Michael stepped forward, confident. "Thanks, Robert. Yes, I want to assure all of you that Hayes and Morrison is entering an exciting new phase. We're going to modernize, streamline our operations, become more competitive in the market. There will be changes, yes, but changes for the better." "What kind of changes?" Tommy called out. "We'll be evaluating every position, every procedure," Michael said, "making sure we're operating at peak efficiency. Some of you may be offered early retirement packages. Others will need to adapt to new systems, new equipment. The dead weight is going to be cut away." The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Rodriguez looked at me, concerned. "Michael," I said, "can I ask you something?" "Sure. Do you know what the company is actually worth?" He frowned. "We've been over this, 4.2 million, and you offered me 750,000 for my half. That's the fair market value for half a company," I interrupted. "So half of 4.2 million would be 2.1 million, not 750. His face reddened. "The company has significant liabilities that—" "Michael, do you know what percentage of the company your father owned?" The room went quiet. 50%, Michael said. "You were equal partners." I shook my head slowly. "No, we weren't. Not anymore." I pulled out the folder from the safe, held it up so everyone could see. 5 years ago, when your mother got sick, your father needed money, a lot of money. The insurance wasn't covering everything, and he was desperate. So I bought 15% of his shares. Not because I wanted them, but because he needed help, and he was too proud to take a loan. Michael's face had gone pale. "Your father owned 35% of Hayes and Morrison Construction when he died," I continued. "I owned 65%. I am and have been the majority owner of this company for 5 years. I opened the folder, pulled out the documents. This is the amended partnership agreement, signed by both of us. This is the share transfer document. This is the notarized letter from your father explaining the arrangement. All legal, all proper. All filed with the state." "That's not you can't," Michael stammered. "I can, and I did. Last Friday, you had me sign papers transferring my shares to you, but I wasn't transferring my 65%, Michael. I was transferring the 0% I owned after your father's death. Because technically, when he died, his 35% went to you as his heir. Which means, as of last Friday, you own 35% of Hayes and Morrison Construction, and I own 65%. The crew was starting to understand. I saw smiles breaking out. Tommy actually laughed. "The papers you had me sign," I continued, "were drafted by your attorney based on false information. You told her I owned 50%. You told her we were equal partners. But that wasn't true. And you should have known that. Did you even look at your father's real will? His real business documents? Or did you just assume—" Michael opened his mouth, closed it. Jennifer Chen, who'd been standing off to the side, was frantically typing on her phone. Now, as the majority shareholder, I have some announcements to make, I said. First, there will be no restructuring, no firing of long-term employees, no cutting of benefits. Hayes and Morrison was built on taking care of our people, and that's how it's going to continue. Cheers from the crew. Tommy actually whooped. Second, I'm promoting Rodriguez to operations manager. Marcus, you're the new head of business development. Jenny, I'm doubling your salary and giving you the budget to hire 2 more people for accounting. More cheers. And third, I turned to Michael. Your employment with Hayes and Morrison Construction is terminated, effective immediately. You'll receive the same severance package we offer all employees. 2 weeks' pay. Your 35% share will remain yours. You're still a minority shareholder. But you will have no management authority, no access to company files, and no input on company decisions. That's how majority ownership works, Michael. The room was silent now. Michael's face went through several colors. You can't do this. My father. Your father knew exactly what he was doing, I said quietly. He knew you'd try to take over. He knew you'd try to gut the company, fire our people, turn it into something it was never meant to be. That's why he did what he did. That's why he gave me that letter. I pulled out James's letter, read it aloud. The whole thing. Every word about Michael wanting to modernize, to cut benefits, to fire Tommy and Rodriguez. Every word about James saying no, about him being called soft. When I finished, Michael was shaking. He gave you control because he knew I'd try to save money? Michael's voice cracked. He gave away his company because I wanted to run it like a business? He gave me control because you forgot what this business is actually about, I said. It's not about profit margins and efficiency metrics. It's about building things that last. About taking care of the people who take care of you. Your father understood that. I hoped you would too someday. Maybe you still will. Michael grabbed his briefcase. This isn't over. I'll sue. You'll lose, Jennifer Chen said quietly. She'd been reading something on her phone. The documents are all legitimate, filed properly, notarized. You're a minority shareholder, Mr. Morrison. You have rights, but not control. I'm sorry, but there's no case here. Michael looked at her, betrayed. Then he looked at me. For just a second, I saw the little boy who used to come to the job sites with his father, wearing a plastic hard hat, asking a million questions about how things were built. I loved him too, I said softly. I'm sorry it had to be this way. He left without another word. The Mercedes roared to life in the parking lot, tires squealing as he drove away too fast. The crew erupted in applause. Tommy came up, shook my hand with his calloused grip. Rodriguez clapped me on the shoulder. Jenny was actually crying. All right, I said, holding up my hands. We've got work to do. Tommy, you've got the Highlands project. Rodriguez, I need you to look over the bids for the school renovation. Everyone else, you know your jobs. Let's get to it. They dispersed, energized, in a way I hadn't seen in months. The warehouse, filled with the sounds of preparation, of purpose. I went back to my office, sat down in my chair, the one I'd sat in for 32 years, the one I'd thought I might have to give up. On my desk was the photo of James and me at Tommy's daughter's wedding. We were both wearing suits, looking uncomfortable, grinning like idiots. Emma had taken the picture. She'd said we looked like kids playing dress-up. I did what you asked, I said to the photo. I hope it was right. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mr. Hayes? A woman's voice. This is Patricia Morrison, James's sister. Patricia, I said, surprised. I didn't know you were in town. I wasn't. I came for the funeral, but I had to leave quickly. Work emergency. I feel terrible about it. She paused. I heard about what happened with Michael this morning. News travels fast. He called me. He's devastated, angry, confused. Another pause, but not wrong. I sat up straighter. What do you mean? James talked to me before he died, told me what he was planning, asked if I thought he was being unfair to Michael. Her voice was soft. I told him no. I told him he was being a good father. Because good fathers don't enable their children's worst instincts. They guide them toward being better people. Patricia. Michael grew up privileged. Private schools, college paid for. No struggle, no hardship. When Emma got sick, James tried to include him in the caregiving, but Michael was too busy with his own life. When James asked him to learn the business, to actually work on a crew, to understand what we do, Michael said he'd done his time. He'd gone to business school. He knew better than manual laborers. I closed my eyes. I'd heard some of this from James, but not all of it. James loved his son, Patricia continued, but he knew Michael had lost touch with what matters. He hoped that maybe, by doing this, by forcing Michael to see what he'd become, he could help him find his way back. I don't know if it'll work, but I wanted you to know that James didn't do this to punish Michael. He did it to save him, and to save the company that meant everything to both of you. Thank you for telling me, I said. Thank you for honoring my brother's wishes. He trusted you completely. He was right to. We talked for a few more minutes, about the funeral, about memories, about James's wish to be scattered at Red Rocks. Patricia said she'd arrange it, a small ceremony, just family and close friends. Your family, Robert, she said before hanging up. You always were. I sat in the quiet office for a long time after that call. Outside, I could hear the crew. Someone was playing music. Tommy was singing along, off-key, to an old country song. The sound of normalcy, the sound of people who knew they were valued. The next few weeks were busy. Michael never came back, but his lawyer sent letters. They tried to argue that the shares transfer was invalid, that James had been under duress, that I'd taken advantage of a grieving man. Every argument fell apart under scrutiny. James had been meticulous. Every document was in order, every I dotted, every T crossed. Eventually, the letters stopped. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Michael had taken a job with a larger construction firm in California. Corporate position, good salary. Maybe the distance would be good for him. Maybe someday he'd understand. The company thrived. With Rodriguez managing operations and Marcus bringing in new business, we landed 3 major contracts in 2 months. We upgraded some equipment not to replace our people, but to make their jobs easier. Tommy's knees thanked us. I bought better coffee beans, the expensive kind James always wanted. Every morning, I'd make a pot and drink a cup in his honor. On a Saturday in June, we held the ceremony at Red Rocks. Patricia was there, along with a few dozen others who'd known and loved James. We scattered his ashes at sunset, with the rocks glowing red around us and the city spreading out below. Michael didn't come, but Patricia said she'd talked to him on the phone that morning. He'd asked about the business, about how everyone was doing, about me. He's starting to understand, Patricia told me quietly. It'll take time, but I think he's starting to see what his father was trying to teach him. I hope so, I said. James left something for you. Patricia handed me an envelope. He asked me to give it to you after we scattered his ashes. I opened it carefully. Inside was a short note and a check. The note read, Robert, if you're reading this, everything went according to plan. You've got the company. You've protected our people. You've done what I knew you'd do, but you've also sacrificed. You spent money on my medical bills when you bought those shares. You never asked for it back. So I'm asking Emma to make it right. The check is for the amount you paid, plus interest. Not because I owe you, but because I want you to have something for yourself. Buy that cabin you always talked about, the one by the lake where we used to fish. Retire for real this time. Train Rodriguez to take over. You've earned it. You've earned everything. Your friend always, James. P.S. Michael's going to be okay. He just needs to fall down a few times first. We all did. The check was for $467,000. I stood there at Red Rocks, holding that check, surrounded by people who loved James, and I cried. Not sad tears. Not happy tears. Just tears. Patricia put her hand on my shoulder. He really did think of everything, didn't he? Yeah, I managed. He really did. That Monday, I came into the office with a new plan. I called Rodriguez and Marcus into my office, along with Tommy and Jenny. I'm stepping back, I told them. Not leaving, but stepping back. Rodriguez, you're going to be CEO. Marcus, COO. Tommy, Senior Project Advisor. Jenny, CFO. You four are going to run this company. I'll stay on as chairman of the board, but the day-to-day is yours. They stared at me. Are you sure? Rodriguez asked. I'm 64 years old, I said. I'm tired, and I've got a cabin to buy. A cabin? Tommy grinned. Yeah, up by Granby, on the lake where James and I used to fish. I looked at them. You'll do great. James and I built something strong, but we built it so it could outlast us. So, it could grow beyond us. It's your turn now. They took over seamlessly, better than seamlessly. Within a year, the company was worth $6 million. They landed a contract to build a new hospital wing. They hired 15 more people. They started a scholarship fund for employees' kids. I bought the cabin. It was small, rustic, perfect. I spent my weekends there, fishing in the early mornings, reading in the afternoons, watching the sun set over the mountains in the evenings. Sometimes I thought about Michael, wondered how he was doing, if he'd figured it out yet, if he'd learned what his father had tried to teach him. 2 years after James's death, I got a letter. Return address in California. Michael's handwriting. Robert, it said. I don't know if you'll even read this. I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. But I need to say some things. I was wrong. About everything. About the business. About my father. About you. I've spent 2 years working in corporate construction, and I finally understand what you and Dad were trying to tell me. It's not about the money. It's not about efficiency. It's about people. The company I work for now treats employees like numbers. They fire people right before retirement to avoid pension obligations. They cut corners on safety. They don't care. And I realized I was about to turn Hayes and Morrison into exactly that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I said. What I tried to do. I'm sorry I didn't appreciate what you and Dad built. I'm sorry I didn't get to say goodbye to him properly because I was too angry about the business. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that I finally understand, and I'm grateful. Grateful that you stopped me. Grateful that you protected his legacy. Grateful that you were the father's best friend he always said you were. If you're ever in California, I'd like to buy you that expensive coffee Dad always wanted. Michael. I read the letter 3 times. Then I picked up my phone. Michael? It's Robert. Yeah, I got your letter. Listen, I'm coming to San Francisco next month for a conference. Why don't we get that coffee? And Michael, your father would be proud of you. It takes a strong man to admit he was wrong. It takes an even stronger man to change. I'll see you next month. We met at a small cafe in the Bay Area. Michael looked older, more grounded. There was a tiredness in his eyes that hadn't been there before, but also a peace. We talked for 3 hours. About James, about the business, about life. He told me about his job, the things he'd learned. I told him about the cabin, about Rodriguez and Marcus, about how well everyone was doing. I want to come back, he said finally. Not to run things, not to take over, just to learn. To actually learn the business the right way. Would there be a place for me? I thought about James, about his letter, about his belief that Michael just needed to fall down a few times first. Rodriguez is the CEO now, I said. It would be his decision, but I'll talk to him. No promises. 3 months later, Michael moved back to Denver. Rodriguez hired him as an entry-level project coordinator. Michael worked his way up, slowly, learning every aspect of the business from the ground up. He spent mornings mixing concrete with Tommy, afternoons learning bookkeeping from Jenny, evenings studying blueprints with Marcus. He was good at it. Not brilliant, not naturally gifted, but good. More importantly, he cared. He learned people's names. He asked about their families. He showed up early and stayed late. 5 years after James's death, on a sunny morning in May, I stood in front of the crew for the last time as chairman of the board. I'm retiring, I announced. For real this time. I'm 70 years old. It's time. I looked at Rodriguez. You've been an incredible CEO. This company is in good hands. Rodriguez smiled. Thanks to you and James. And I have one more announcement, I continued. I'm selling my shares, All 65%. The room went quiet. I'm selling them to the employees. An employee stock ownership program. Everyone who works here will own a piece of Hayes and Morrison. Equal shares, equal voices. That's what James always wanted. That's what we built this for. The place erupted. People were crying, cheering, hugging each other. Tommy bear-hugged me so hard I thought he'd crack my ribs. After the meeting, Michael approached me. He was wearing work clothes, dusty, from a morning job site. He looked like his father. "Thank you," he said simply. "For what?" "For not giving up on me. Dad didn't. You didn't. I don't know what I did to deserve that, but thank you." "Your father loved you," I said. "He just wanted you to understand what really matters. I think you do now." "Yeah," Michael said, looking around at the celebrating crew. "I think I do. I drive up to the cabin most weekends now. Sometimes Rodriguez and Marcus come up to fish. Sometimes Tommy joins, complaining about his knees the whole time, but grinning when he hooks a trout. Sometimes it's just me. I keep the photo of James and me on the mantle, the one from Tommy's daughter's wedding. We're both in those uncomfortable suits, grinning like idiots, with Emma's handwriting on the back. Two guys who built something good. She was right. We did build something good. Something that lasted. Something bigger than profit margins or efficiency metrics. Something human. And on the mornings when I sit on the dock with my expensive coffee, watching the sun come up over the mountains, I swear I can hear James laughing. The same laugh I heard 32 years ago when we signed our partnership agreement, when we shook hands and promised to always take care of our people. We kept that promise, all the way to the end.